So it's 1:10 in the morning, and I wouldn't normally be posting a video at 1:10 in the morning, or even be up at 1:10 in the morning unless I'm having insomnia problems. But I want this day to really be captured properly. And for the first 24 hours of a hospital stay, CF patients are supposed to take breathing treatments every 4 hours, around the clock. So my first breathing treatment was 4 hours ago at about 9 o'clock. And now it's just past 1, and I just finished my first breathing treatment of today, which is Tuesday. And while I am tired because I took my pills earlier, I wanted to post a little, like, late night / early morning random thoughts that popped into my head while I was doing my breathing treatment. So I got to thinking about the stages of grief. And this was brought on by, seeing something on Facebook. I don't remember what it was. But if you don't know what they are, there's 5 of them. And it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I got to thinking about those 5 things. And I realized that living with a terminal illness like cystic fibrosis is basically living your entire life in this grief-ridden state. So what I mean by that is, okay, so like for me specifically, I was diagnosed late, like I said earlier. And my first thought process was, no, that's not true. I don't have this. I'm not dying. I'm not that sick. It's just a fluke. And I didn't take care of myself for an embarrassing amount of time because I didn't want to believe that it was true or that I needed to do those things. And then when I started to really realize that, yeah, I was sick, I got mad. Like, anybody who knows me personally knows that I don't really get mad very easily. Like, it takes a lot to get under my skin in an anger sort of way. But I was just furious. I went through all that. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? You know, what's going on? I'm mad at myself, at the doctors, at my parents, at the whole entire world, because this had happened to me, and that's the way I felt it. It happened to me, and I was mad. And then I went through this stage of like, oh, maybe if I do this or that or the other thing, God will like take this away from me or make it better or something, which didn't really work, obviously. Because for one thing, I've really struggled my entire life with believing in a God existing in the first place, which I might delve into later. I haven't decided yet. But so the bargaining stage was very brief for me because I realized very quickly that things don't work that way. And then depression. Depression's the hardest one for me. It's lasted the longest, and it will probably last the rest of my life. But the thing is I've noticed that depression and acceptance for me are like this roller coaster that I can't seem to get off of. I have these great highs where I feel really positive and things are going the way I want them to be going, and I'm very gung-ho about my future and what I want to do with my life and working actively toward those goals to get them done and to say that I did them before I die, because I have this attitude of, I'm going to live this life like the best that I possibly can, to the fullest extent that I can, and do everything that I want to do before I die. Because otherwise I can't really do it, can I? But then there's the flip side of that coin where I feel like none of it matters. There's a high likelihood that I'm not going to live long enough for anything that I do to really have a lasting effect. Or it won't be something that I did for very long or was very impactful to people. Or at least I'll feel like that's true. So I want to be a teacher. I specifically want to teach English. I'd like to start teaching high schoolers, and if I have time and energy, get a master's degree so I can teach at the collegiate level and be an English professor. I really want to teach creative writing. And my goal as a teacher is to inspire the next generation to have a voice and know how to articulate their voice to get their point across, or to bring something in their mind to life. So whether that be rhetorically or creatively, I just want them to have this tool that they can use to get what's here out here. And help them get better at even like verbally articulating what they are trying to say when they're trying to say it. That's why I pause so much, is because I'm trying to think before I speak. And I want to impart that on another generation of people. And I feel like the longer I'm a teacher, the higher chance I have of doing that and reaching that goal. Well, there's a very good chance that I'm not going to be able to be a teacher for very long. The reason I say this is because I'm only halfway done with school right now. I have my associate's degree in general education, which is the first step on my journey. And because of the lung transplant, I've been told to put school on pause. So I can't unpause until I get listed, get the transplant, and fully recover, which could take some time, like possibly years. I hope it doesn't take years. Okay, anyway, but after that I can unpause, and I'll have to go back for my bachelor's degree, which could take anywhere from 2 to 3 years realistically for me, and get my bachelor's in secondary English education, and then start teaching. Hopefully while I'm in school I can get a job at a school, like a teacher's assistant or something, but then realistically after I get my degree, start teaching. And then do that preferably for a few years before I consider going back to get a master's degree. Well, master's degrees take several more years to acquire, and then teach at the collegiate level. Well, that's a several-year plan, like more than 5 years that's going to take to get bachelor's and master's and all the teaching. That's probably a 10-year plan at this point. Sorry, my brain works much better for English than it does for math, but that's probably about a 10-year plan from this point. And the thing with lung transplants is that, and any transplant actually, is that those organs sort of have a shelf life. So they only last so long once they get placed into a new body. And I've heard various stories from various people about how long they can last. I know people who have had lungs for 5 years and passed away. I know them at 10 years and passed away, 15 years, 20 years. I've heard it all. So I don't know, even with the transplant, how long I have left. Granted, I try to live my life with the same attitude everybody else does, which is that we all die. Eventually, it's going to happen to all of us, but that shouldn't stop us from living our lives. So just because I have this knowledge that there's a good probability I'm going to die at a younger age than the average person, I try not to let it affect my planning. On the flip side of that, I'm a very realistic person, and I know that it could happen. So I also try to be mentally prepared for that idea that I might not get to see my dreams come to fruition. And that bothers me a lot. But with me, the thing that bugs me the most is that my family won't get to see me do it. Like, it bugs me more that they're going to have to see me try so hard for this thing that I really wanted, just to see it get taken away from me, like, too soon. And I know that's going to be really hard for them. And I know this because I've talked to some of them about it. I'm not just speculating here. I'm clearly a very open person. I don't have a problem talking about personal things that most people would probably try to keep private. But yeah, all that kind of hit me while I was taking my breathing treatment a few minutes ago, 11 minutes ago. And I just thought I'd share that because I don't know if it's a unique way of looking at things as terminal illness equaling grief, or if it's something a lot of other people have thought about. But maybe it's a new way for certain people and it'll help them realize something about themselves. I don't know. One of my other main goals in life is to try to help people understand who they are. And the only real way to do that is through critical thinking and introspection. So I like to ask the tough questions and bring up the tough subjects and not beat around the bush about things. So maybe somebody will get something out of watching my videos. And even if they don't, hopefully they at least enjoy seeing what it's like on the inside of a person's life with cystic fibrosis. I guess we'll see.